Hey, this is Todd with CopyFlight. I wanted to do a really quick video. I've been intending to do this anyway. Excuse me. So I'll go ahead and do it now. A popular Facebook group for WordPress agencies asked the question on Twitter about where you start your blog project or your blog or your article you're writing, your blog post, whatever you want to call it. And I answered document. And I even left a little note about, how I started in Google Docs, etc. And somebody replied asking me basically why I did that. And I said, well, here's the reason. I have written articles. My articles tend to be longer for the most part. There is a site where I write articles that are much, much shorter, but in general, articles for agencies, business, that kind of thing, tend to be at least 1,000 words for me, sometimes longer. I've got some that are in the 2,000 to 3,000 word range. Almost always get 1,500, sometimes without even trying. When you write more, you can do that. It takes some editorial skills to pare it down. But anyway, because of that, with a interruption on the internet or a database interruption or something like that, you can lose what you've done. If you've written 400, 500, 600 words and they were good and you lose them, you're starting all over again. And I just don't want to do that. With putting them in Google Docs, it'll save continuously. And once the online, if there is an interruption, once it comes back on, your words are still there and it'll save it and so forth. Just keep it open. It's much safer in that regard. The other reason is when you're writing longer articles, you want to spend some time organizing them based on what part of the article you think this area needs to be and that kind of thing. So, and where the headliner or the subheads are, those kinds of things. I want to do that in the Google document where there's less distraction. In fact, to be honest with you, I will pull up Notepad on my computer and work on a certain section of the article in Notepad. It's even more distraction free. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my workflow and show you how that kind of happens. So this is CopyFlight website, the kind of the hub for what I do. And I'm going to go over here to the REO framework. This is an article I've been working on since June. I last said it was June 24th. You can see I've got sidelined. It's something that's been in my head. Been working through it. I had time. Certainly do plan on trying to finish this, and might actually be more beneficial to me to actually break it into parts. I don't know. But the first page is essentially your intro. And this is the second point. And as you see, I've got a link here for an area that I'm going to reference. I have a call out section here, it'll be a block quote in the WordPress. And so that's these things I can call out for myself for easy finding when I go back to actually format it. I want to format the article. The final formatting I want to be done in the WordPress editor, because I'm going to take advantage of the code that they use for H1 tags, that kind of thing. Also, when you write something in Google Docs, they put their own coding in there. So what I try to do is drop the actual content in the editor that's considered text, so that it copies the just the words and not the formatting, because I want to format it in the WordPress editor. So I can use things like block quote, which this really doesn't have a block quote. You can use an indentation and italicize it, but there's really not a block quote here. And so I'm going to use block quote in the headline or in the WordPress editor. Now, with the emergence of Gutenberg, the blocks will come in handy, and I'm looking forward to actually doing that. Haven't done that yet. This article I do intend to post using Gutenberg, but just show you how it works. I'm going to take this first section, I'm going to highlight it, because this will not be the whole thing, and it's just a test to show you. I copy it. I'm going to go over to my WordPress editor. Now, if I had Gutenberg enabled on this, I would have the Gutenberg editor here, and it would do all. We're not going to go into Gutenberg right now, but this is the text editor, the text side. Here you got the visual, where you have the WYSIWYGs at the top that allows you to make all the formatting. But here, I want to drop it in the text tab so that I get all the content without the formatting, because I'm going to format in the article. This title I don't need because that will be the title. We'll go back to the visual, and here I have, and you can see my Grammarly is already lighting up. I really probably should do that part of the editing before I put it in here, but if in case I don't, Grammarly is there, and I don't use everything Grammarly suggests. A lot of times I disagree with their assessment, so but like this right here, typically that should be hyphenated. Same here. Actually, it should be and, so it catches little things like that for me that I don't catch very well. But right here you see the big quote. I'm going to go up here and hit the block quote, and then I can put the link somewhere to highlight that and so forth. And that's where we are. So that's kind of my workflow. I'll do one last go through editing it. Now, if I have the luxury of having an editor look over it, he or she will be looking at that in Google Docs, and I'll try not to move anything over till they've gone through it and have me make some changes if that changes need to be made. So I will also, at this point, this is where I look for my images. I will have an image. I will put my tags in there. If you're a writer and you don't do this part of it, totally understandable. But if you are a writer and you're actually putting the content in the dashboard for your client, this is where you would, you'd add the tags, choose a category. You should have a place here for the feature image right there. Then I have my little Yoast SEO area, but if you use something like Rank Math, they have a very similar one, a little bit different, but everything's similar. One of my clients uses that, so I'm well aware about using that. If I am writing for me, like I'm logged in through the main staff person, so I would change the author to me, and I can make all the little adjustments. Then I would add my pictures, break up the wall text. You don't want ongoing wall text. Break that up and add my feature image, and then usually I will save it. And we will take a look. Of course, this will be very plain because I have no images in there, but I would add a feature image which would go there, and I have my share buttons and so forth. So this is kind of my workflow. Once I am done with everything, I've got it edited, the images added, the tags that way they need to be tagged, and I'm published it. Then comes the part of the workflow where we promote it. This is an area I'm working to get better on. I'm inspired by things I learned from Ross Simmons of Foundation Inc. He's got some really good content about how you can distribute. He calls it distribute. I like that word because that's basically what you're doing. In some cases, you want to remix your content. Maybe I'll make a video based on this that links back to the article. Maybe I'll make a video snippet that I put on social media with some, something that catches people's attention and links back to it. Possibly I take a really good nugget in there that's tweetable, and we'll share that with a link back to it. Obviously share the platforms I have. There are certain ways you can remix, and Ross and his team over there, they have some really good content. I actually have a little course too. I highly recommend you checking that out. But once we formatted it and published it, that's when you would do the content promotion. Certainly, you're not done until you've really began to do content promotion. Now, if that's not your part of the job and the workflow, then that would be up to someone else. But if you're the person, you run the business or whatever, and you're doing everything from concept to delivery, then don't forget about um, distribution. You'll certainly want to include it in an email, maybe do a snippet or something that gets people interested to actually go read the article. Kim Doyle does this very well when you look at hers. So things like that. So you want to do that. You want to do a good job of distributing it once you made it. But that's kind of my workflow. As I said, I also use Notepad. So in Notepad, I will write maybe the intro, kind of what's in my head will kind of come out. Sometimes I'm figuring it out as I go, which is terrible. Don't tell other great content writers. But sometimes I have strictly in mind what I want to do, and it changes with how it goes. But basically, I have a wireframe, if you will, for the article, these points I want to do, and use the Notepad for the little sections, drop it into the Google document, begin formatting it a little for structure, not for how it looks, for structure, like, okay, I want this to be the title of this section. I want to move this up here, that kind of thing. Editing grammar and spelling, which I'm not very good at, and edit for how it sounds, making it sound better, those kind of things. If I had a great editor every time I wrote, you guys would think I'm an all-star. And so anyway, that's my little workflow. Maybe it explains a little bit about why I do it, how I do. Be sure to check out copyflight.com, the blog, and our copy chat show. And I'll talk to you next time.